Before you watch the video, we kindly ask that you hit the like button. It costs you nothing, helps us a lot. On to the show. Super Duty Tough Work. Early morning edition. How early, Logic? Very early.
Not as early as it was planned.
Right. You know, we may be late when we record it, but we gonna drop this motherfucker right on time. You know what I'm saying? Still gonna drop it on time, man. You know, you're now listening to the most infamous podcast on planet Earth. Super Duty Tough Work with your host, Blueprint, your co-host, Logic. Happy New Year to everybody out there.
Yes.
You know, we skipped last week, but we back this week after doing a epic New Year's episode.
Yeah, people seem to dig it.
Yes, very inspirational. You know, so off top, we want to shout out to all, you know, Super Duty Tough Work listeners worldwide, you know, who, especially those who called in and let us know what their big wins were of 2024. It is 2025, and I know we all got a lot of goals, and one of my goals is to do the podcast more frequently. And we doing that so far. You know, I think we're like 3 out of the last 4 or something like that weeks. And so that's pretty damn good, and we're going to keep it going. And I'm going to talk about a topic today that is kind of is different, but it's something simple that I would like to share with the listeners of this podcast. And the concept is called changing public perception. And I want to talk about this because sometimes we, as artists, as, you know, business owners, whatever, we have a way that people see us, right? Like people see us like, oh, I see you as this, I see you as that. And we think that it can't be changed. We think that we are kind of stuck in this box and maybe we're not getting the results we want. And so it can be frustrating. You know, maybe people see you as just this, but not that. Maybe people don't see you the way that you would like to see yourself. And that's causing you to not be where you want to be, get the respect or opportunities that you want. And so this week I want to talk about, you know, changing public perception in a way that makes sense for artists, because there's a way that artists can do it. And there's something that I've seen with an artist named LaRussel that I want to break down in this episode. It's kind of like a case study and to explain this concept. And then we're going to get into how to do it later on. Another quick announcement, you know, very close to having the Super Duty Tough Work site done and ready. I think it can be up at the end of this month. You know, I'm doing some testing right now, but it's moving, it's shaking. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
You know, products and services is coming. So stay tuned. What other announcements we got, man? Well, that might be it for now. A bunch of shit is going to be starting to be announced very soon, you know, so stay tuned. But yeah, so this week, you know, we're going to talk about how to change public perception. And so we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
Word.
We got you stuck off the realness, the most infamous, you heard of us. Official podcast murderers, the show comes equipped with viewpoints to share. Grown man ideas for all those who care and want to grow, so go ahead and download. Every single week with a brand new episode. You're not alone in this world, cousin, so we share information and honest discussion and keep repping a culture like we supposed to. They spread gossip, but they never come close to. I can hear it inside their tone. They talk about the industry but never left their home. You get laced up with bullet points and such, plus empowering topics that they never would touch. You can put your whole network against a team, but Super Duty Tough Work's the MVP. Most valuable podcast on MP3. Priceless info, but all of it's free. So take these words home and think them through. Super Duty Tough Work is coming at you. You are now listening to Super Duty Tough Work with your host, Blueprint. Raw and uncut. Adult conversations. No shucking, no jiving, and no bullshit.
All right, folks, we back. Super Duty Tough Work, Blueprint, Logic. Today we are talking about changing public perception, how to change what people think about you, and how to do that in a way to where you can get more opportunities and respect. And so the concept is something that we all understand, but I want to talk about how I saw this play out in the public with an artist that is very popular right now. So right around the pandemic, I remember I was following, and the artist is named LaRussel. Some of y'all will know him or follow him. You probably see him all the time on Instagram. He's very popular there. He's a rap artist from the Bay, younger artist. But what I saw from LaRussel started in like 2021. I know everything was locked down. It was during the pandemic, right? I started following him. He probably had about 5,000 followers, 6,000 followers, somewhere between 5 and 10, more than that, right? And I think I learned about him because either Wallow or Gilly had posted a clip of him once rapping on some cypher shit. And I was like, oh, this cat's dope. Let me check him out. And so I was like, let me follow him. I started liking some of the things he was doing, just as an artist. And so my understanding is at that time, I think LaRussel had maybe only played one headlining show. Or two headlining, and they weren't successful by his own admission. He said he threw a show in a club, rented a venue, and lost all types of money. Nobody came out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This was pre-pandemic, and pandemic. What I started noticing as I followed LaRussel, because as you all know, everything was shut down, so there were no playing shows during the pandemic. We sat here and podcasted a lot because it wasn't that much to do. Logic was doing live streaming very heavily, right? That's what everybody was kind of leaning on, live streaming at that time. No venues, no live shows, no public assembly of any kind like that during that time for about 2 years. During that time, I started noticing that LaRussel was doing something different that other artists were not doing. And what he was doing was he was creating basically a set, which looked like maybe it was in some other place, maybe it was in his basement, but it was a well lit, well put together set. And he was just shooting footage of him performing his own songs. And so he would post a verse from this or a verse from that. And sometimes you could hear people in the room. Maybe if you let the clip play to the end, you might hear people clap, or if there's a part where you could hear people kind of get into it. Mm-hmm. But you could tell there were no more than maybe 4 or 5 people in there. It was him and his peeps. He started doing the same thing for other artists that he knew. So you would go to his channel during the pandemic, and it might just be he posts a clip of himself. He posts a clip of maybe some singer he knew doing a verse or two, whatever was dope, but it was mostly him. And so this is a guy who had never played a show before, never really headlined before successfully, only had about 5,000 followers at this time. But what he was doing is every day he was feeding the system. He was feeding the algorithm every day, so that like when you looked up, you'd see a performance footage of him multiple times every week. He didn't post just performance footage, right? Obviously, we got more than that. We got interviews, things like that, in the studio, whatever kind of footage we got, right? He did all that other stuff. But the main thing he was doing during the pandemic was posting footage of himself performing. And it started out where it was just be him in front of a mic, like on a boom stand, straight stand or whatever. And he'd just be performing his verses, and it'd be super well lit, well done. Audio's real clean, very well done. And then eventually it kind of evolved to where you would see more of the room. You would see maybe if he had a DJ there, the DJ would be playing records or whatever. And you'd see that. Then maybe it would get a little wider. As time went on, it kind of evolved to where he's still performing, but he's getting better and better because think, he's been doing this for 2 years now. Mm-hmm. Entire pandemic, he been recording basically sets in his basement, chopping them up into small pieces and releasing them pretty much every day of his songs and his music. So now people who can't go to live shows and are wondering, how do I get that feel? You get that feel watching him every day. And he's very prolific with his music. He's probably put out 15, 20 albums in the last 4 or 5 years, right? He puts out a record at least every 3 to 6 months. He's collaborated a lot of people, and he's just very prolific to where he has music and songs to plug into this thing. But it's just his homies filming him, It's his homies helping him with everything. He got a small crew. It's not a big crew. Him and his people are very tuned in though on the social media. And so his following starts to grow. Streaming numbers start to grow. You know what I mean? But all of this is why there's no chance to play shows. And what eventually happens is by the time the pandemic ends, he probably got 100,000 followers. Nobody's seen him play live. No one's seen him play live, but everyone now has an impression of what a live show would be like for him. You kind of get the expectation of like, oh, he's got really dope stage presence. Him playing these songs inspires you to go to streaming and listen to him. So now you're becoming familiar with the catalog because you're seeing what he can do. And what it did, and what this episode is about, is what LaRussel did was he changed public perception of himself. What I wanted to talk about is how, like, in our minds, we have this vision of what we want to be, how we want people to perceive us. But very rarely do we think of the next logical step, which is, what do people need to see for me to perceive me and treat me as such? To me, it was very clear that he saw himself as a headlining artist. He saw himself as a draw in venues, as a draw for his live show. He saw himself as that. And so instead of doing what most artists do, which is what we've all been taught to do, which is go play a bunch of local shows, open for a bunch of people. Eventually your name will get, maybe a record or stick or something like that. He did the opposite. He said, instead of going out there and trying to get on these local shows or renting venues again like I was doing, why don't I just show myself to be what I want people to perceive me to be right now, where I control everything? Didn't rent out no venues to do this. Shot it in his house. I'm sure you got a friend who knows enough about lighting to make it look crispy, right? Most of us who are creatives know somebody like that. He invested in that shit for 2-3 years. He's probably got about 1 million followers right now. The vast majority of things. Then he started playing shows. What happened when he started playing shows, y'all? Selling them out. You know what's coming. All of his shows are packed or selling out. He has a series he does in his backyard of his house. He turned his backyard, him and his parents built a stage in his backyard. And then he has private shows there where you basically have to bid. He has this ticket bidding system where you have to bid to get in. So like you can bid anything, $5, $20, $2,000. He accepts the bids and you can send a description of who you are, maybe your circumstance, and he selects who's there. The vibes at these joints is just off the hook. You look at it, looks like the fucking dopest house party barbecue live concert you ever seen, but it's literally in his backyard in Oakland, his parents' house. He now, going in 2025, he was like, I'm going to start selling these in advance because they always sell out. He just sold out. He did I think he did 6 he might have done 12 of them, maybe one every month. He sold all of them out in advance now. He plays shows. He ain't played any real. Well, I think he opened for T-Pain. He went out over for T-Pain for like a month or two. T-Pain was like seeing what he was doing, added him to his tour. He plays shows up and down on the West Coast. Funny things about his shows, he don't play late shows. He plays shows that start at like 2 p.m., 3 p.m. Some people be complaining, why the show's so early? And he tell them, we want to be to bed. We don't be eating dinner around 8 o'clock. Right. We don't want to be hanging out in no venues all late. That's not the culture that I want to cultivate. He says, so I cultivated the culture of early shows with y'all. So I can do shows at 2 p.m. and know that, the moms, the aunties, the uncles, the working for the grandma. I can do it on a Saturday. The kids can come out. And it's going to be a great event for everybody. When he does his shows in his backyards, his parents be cooking. They provide food and all that shit. It's all included in the price. You get to eat, you get to vibe out. he'd be having special guests there. He done had Twister there. He done had like all kind of West Coast legends in his backyard, just all kind of people there. All because it started with him deciding to change, like to share more and change the perception of himself. And I want to talk about that because a lot of times artists will feel stuck. People see me as this and not at that. I'm not getting the results that I want. But I think if you look at what is going on around you, you're not doing anything similar to what LaRussel did to change his perception. Honestly, I think that what he did in that aspect, he does a lot of brilliant things. But what he did in that aspect is revolutionary, and all artists should take note, because you could live in a city where you can't get booked right now.
Mm-hmm.
You look at gigs, you're like, why am I not on that gig? How come they never call me when such and such type of people is in town? I should be on that show. And you may be thinking, no one sees me the way that I see myself. And I know that that's not right. I know that I am the type of artist who should be on those type of shows. To me, this lays the plan and for how to go about changing that. Why are you not creating that kind of content that shows you to be the thing that you want yourself to be seen as? Right? Because you can sit there and wait on natural things to happen organically, or you can take control, invest in yourself, and do it yourself. And that, to me, that, folks, is like, I wanted to start this episode out because that's like a case study.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't seen it, I'm sure some of you will be curious to see it now. Those who've been watching him since the beginning have probably been just amazed by it as I am, because it's a different way of thinking and seeing things. And I think it helped a lot of artists. I have debates with artists. I've had many debates with artists sometimes, and I'll be like, yo, man, y'all need to not tour so much. You know, it's hard out here touring.
Yeah.
A lot of artists, they get an opportunity to tour but sometimes it's too soon.
Yeah.
You can't make enough to sustain yourself, but you feel like you got to take the tour to spread the word about who you are and what you do, to get in front of people. But he was able to get in front of people without leaving his house. I think that's the new model. I think that's the new way to change public perception of yourself as an artist. And not just as an artist, this applies to everything. Literally, if you want to be seen as something and you're not being seen as it right now, the best and the first thing you need to be doing is showing you do that thing proficiently at a high level, and so people can see it, demonstrate it. Because I guarantee you, if you can't get booked for the shows in your city and you do what LaRussel did, within 1 year, you're going to be getting booked.
Mm-hmm. As long as you're good.
As long as you good. You got to be good.
You actually good.
Got to be good. But here's the thing that's wild. If you do it like he did, you're going to get good.
Yeah.
I ain't sure he was good when he started. You know what I mean? Like, if you ain't played no shows, how you get better at shows? Like, our comfort on stage is from we done so many fucking tours.
Oh, yeah.
We done played in front of our crowds, strangers' crowds, our homies' crowds. We know all the tricks, the veteran tricks to get out there, and we know how to assemble the sets, how to do the roller coaster, how to end it dope, how to start it dope. We know all this shit from experience. But we didn't know it at the beginning. I'll be the first to tell people, we used to not practice.
Oh, nah. We'll just get out there and wing it.
And shit would go wrong. Me, Illogic, and Prism had a string of bad shows, and I just said, enough. I got mad as hell. Prism used to laugh at me because I'd be having meltdowns on stage because shit wasn't going right. But we weren't practicing then. I don't think we were really good then. We was relying just on energy. Now we're fucking tough on stage. You see us on stage like, oh,
yeah,
fucking masterclass. These motherfuckers are been. This is vet shit. At that time, we didn't know what we was doing. And so I like to assume that most artists are like that. But doing it every day, filming it every day when the lights is on and the pressure is on, knowing having to know your stuff and having to think out these things will make you better. So even if you're not good, I'm going to assume that you suck. Because it's better to assume that you're not good than you are. And if you assume that you're not good, you work harder at it. You may have some natural aptitude, but you still need to put in the work. And so that's the case study. And what do you think, Elijah?
I mean, I think it's dope. I haven't, honestly, I haven't followed him a lot. I know who he is, of course.
Yeah.
But I've never seen any of the stuff that you're talking about. So I'm interested to just go and kind of follow the timeline and just see what was done. But, I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about it, but it's definitely things that we have done in our careers to try to change perception of, the things that we do, because we do so many things.
Yes.
So, we're not just rappers, you know what I mean? Like, we do a whole bunch of things. So, it'll be interesting to see how we break down, how to do this.
Yes.
As opposed to just seeing it done.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So like, that's the introduction. So if you are listening to this at home, I hope that kind of resonates. If you're on Instagram, I would ask you to just go follow him, and then you can kind of see in real time what I'm talking about in terms of using footage of yourself playing live to create interest in you playing live. So yeah, we'll take a break and we'll be right back. Quick announcement. Over the years, we've frequently been asked by the listeners of our show if we would ever open up our platform to the public for advertising. We've always been interested in doing it, but in the past, we never had the systems in place to make it work properly. I'm proud to announce that we are now officially accepting advertising from the public on Super Duty Tough Work, meaning if you are a business owner or an artist and would like to create more awareness about your product, service, or release on our platform, we're now in a position to be able to do that. For more information, email us at superdutytoughwork@weightless.net. That's superdutytoughwork@weightless.net. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you would like to promote, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible about whether it's a good fit and go from there. Thanks for your time. Back to the show. All right, folks, we back. Super Duty Tough Work, Blueprint, Logic, my co-host. Today we are talking about changing public perception. How to change what people think about you to create more opportunities for yourself. So in this section, I want to talk about how I have tried to apply that thing to me and how seeing that kind of changed what I have been doing this year. And so anyone who has been following me has noticed that I've posted a lot more beats this year, right? It was never that I did not do production or focus on production. I always did. I just never shared it. But I remember coming back and I was watching what he was doing. And I was like, I wonder if I can do that with playing beats, with like, if I want to get booked to play beats like I do to rap, right? I started with a simple premise that was like very tangible, nothing generic. I don't get booked to play beat sets. I want to get booked to play beat sets. What do I need to do to change people's perception of me in that regard? Right? And so I wrote out a plan. I said, okay, one of the first things I need to start doing is sharing beats every week on my timeline. Whether they're things that are old that I've produced, whether they're new things, whether it's a sample flip. So in 2024, I did quite a bit of that, posting sample flips every week for a while. Anytime I have one, filming myself doing it, not getting too caught up in perfection, and just putting that stuff out there, sharing new beats I was making so people can kind of hear what I'm working on, because most people don't hear my production till my records come out.
Right.
And I'm like, oh shit, Prince on some shit. But prior to that, you have no fucking idea what I'm working on. So I realized that about myself. I had to admit that. Like, there's a blind spot in how I've been doing things. And it wasn't creating an opportunity that I wanted. And so last year I had a unique opportunity where I'm like, oh, I want to release this Chamber Music 2 record. So the second thing, I'm like, okay, I need to create the kind of content that people who do this create. So if people are playing beat sets, if they're putting that on YouTube, then I need to do that. I need to take those beat sets and break them up into clips. People can see me with this machine playing my beats in public. So that was kind of the premise behind the Beats from the Park thing that I did. You know, I got like 3 of them so far and just put out one last week. It was strictly to change the perception of what people think about me and playing beats so that I could eventually get hired to play beats at shows to the same degree I do to rap. And that has happened. That has happened. The beat set obviously played Vibe Society, my album release party, played a beat set there. Went over well, really well. Like no one was there like, oh, we don't want to hear this shit. It was like by that point, especially I needed it to work by that point, right? Because that's when people are going to be paying money to see it or coming out live to see it. So it's like, but I was setting it up months prior to that by releasing these videos of me with the 404, with me playing beats, with me playing things that no one's heard in a way where people say, oh, he's not rapping, but I still kind of dig that. Everybody who listens to me rap is not going to want to hear me play beats. I get it.
Right. Yeah.
But for those who are there and for those who participate in that side of things and want to hear that, I took it upon myself to try to change that. So from the Columbus thing, release party, to playing a headlining beat set in Chiang Mai, that was dope. Thailand. Coming back here, my guy Tino hired me to play beats at his album release party. Went to Dayton and did it. And that's not it. Like talking to one of my homies now about playing another one out of state. But it's like, I'm seeing it change. And I know for a fact it wouldn't have changed had I not done these things to start changing the perception of me. High quality content consistently put out because people know I can rap, of the thing that I want to change the perception of, which is playing beats. And after trying that, the second half of this year with this chamber music release, I got to co-sign everything that LaRussel did. It should be adopted. It works. You have to be committed, but it fucking works. And so like, that is something that anyone listening to this podcast should think about. And like, okay, am I getting what I want? Because to me, yeah, I could put out an instrumental record, but if I don't get booked anywhere, then how do I set up the next one? How do I eventually say, like, I want to get to the point where I'm like, yo, I'm just going to go out and play a tour playing beats just like I do rapping.
Yeah.
Isn't that the pinnacle of the shit?
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal.
Right? But I can't get there if I don't do these steps first. So like, I have to put out the music. I have to put out the content that shows me being the thing that I want people to see me as. So it's on you, brother.
Yeah, man, I completely agree. I mean, this is why, when I first started producing, that's all I posted. I didn't post anything about me rapping. I didn't post, performances because I wasn't performing because it was pandemic. That's when I really got heavy, right before the pandemic. That's when I really got heavy into making beats. So, I wanted that, kind of change too because people were so used to me rapping. And I was new at making beats, so I was practicing in public in the first place.
Yeah.
And, with my streaming, releasing those beat tapes during the pandemic, I would release beat tapes. I would do on my streaming shows, do little release parties for them. Got my, little MIDI controller turntable thing, and started practicing and doing shit like that. So, in that I did, and then having Vibe Society, having something that celebrated beats, later on down the line. I started the Beats and B-Sides thing when I would do that live and have beat sets. And, I wanted that perception to change, and slowly it did. I started to get booked to where I could play beats and rap. I could do both. And it was seen that, this is what I'm going to be doing for a little bit, what I mean? And it definitely helped, and it definitely lended itself to the fact that now, producers are in contact with me about them coming and doing shows and things like that, because it's not seen that I'm just this rap guy anymore.
Right. Yeah, like you took it even further. Like you said, like you have a whole event about production. It's not a rap show. It's not like you don't rap at that mug at all. You host it and everybody plays beats. And that's the thing that I think people aren't necessarily seeing, you know, like you have to commit.
Yeah.
You got to commit. So many times we want to change how people, hey, I want to get more beats on people's records. Some people, that's their goal. They want to get more placements, or maybe they want to produce more albums for artists. But how do you get the thing that you want? There's no other way to get it than to become it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to become it first before people see you as it. So if you're saying, why don't I ever get booked to be the headlining this or at the top of this thing or at this opportunity? It's largely because you haven't internally seen yourself as that yet. Because if you truly saw yourself as that thing already, you would be doing the things that those people do already. But because you got this internal dialogue where you don't see yourself, you still doubt yourself. When you truly see yourself as like, that motherfucker is nothing to shit that you won't share.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I think stops a lot of artists from doing this is fear and a scarcity mentality.
Yeah.
There's also a little bit of entitlement in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's this the entitlement. That factor is believing that you deserve something just because you think you should have it, just because you're talented or you're dope. I'm as dope as them. That's what it sounds like.
I think shit like that is, especially if you're an artist and you're trying to branch into something else.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you think just because you're known in this space that automatically you should have that same respect in this new space that you're trying to achieve. You know, you're trying to go out it. And shit don't work that way. You got to prove yourself all over it. You got to start from the bottom.
Yep.
You know, we wanted to be seen as videographers. Wasn't nobody just gonna come get a video just because?
No, because I said
because
so.
It's Blueprint. Yeah, just because it's Blueprint shooting it. You know what I'm saying? You had to show and prove. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but you know, sadly, I think some people don't see that.
Yeah.
Like there's this whole and art, it gets weird because we have the whole talent thing. And very often in this shit, especially the music industry, you can be doper than somebody, but they can be more successful than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talent is not the indicator, the only indicator of success. Just like, in fact, a lot of the talented people be the least successful.
Yep.
If we being
they don't have
honest.
the commitment. Yeah, they don't have the commitment or the work ethic. They just think I'm dope and that's gonna carry me.
Right.
That's all I need is
And it's like that same entitlement is what stops you from going out there and doing the work to ensure that people see your talents, that people see you as you see yourself. Right? You know, the fear factor of it is, oh, well, what if I do all of this and it don't change? You know, we start thinking this negative dialogue about, okay, what if I do it and people don't get up on it? Or what if it don't get no views? Mm-hmm. Remember, you're trying to build something that's not there. You're not seen as that shit at all right now. If you're not headlining, you're not seen as a headliner.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. How else can I say it? If your name ain't at the top of that fucking bill, if you're not the guy deciding the lineups, the ticket price, the billing, the poster design, you're not a headliner. And you can't change that by sitting around crossing your arms and waiting. That shit doesn't work. You got to get up off your hands and change the shit that you can change, which is the perception. You want to be seen as a headliner? Shit, LaRussel just laid out the blueprint for how to do it. He just literally did the shit. 2 years. Now he's selling out shows a year in advance. Come on, man. Motherfucker can become a fucking a legend in his backyard. And his music don't even it's Bay Area music.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be argued that the bass shit he does doesn't even necessarily appeal to the average fan in other regions. He don't give a fuck. He making what he want to make. And it's resonating with the people who it's supposed to be resonating with. Because he did not sit around and be paralyzed by fear. I think that's important, man. You know, and another thing that hurts us is the scarcity mentality. Given all the cheapness of technology and things like this, and the little interfaces and the mics and all this light, this shit ain't expensive no more, man.
Nope.
Why we not posting more?
Mm-hmm.
Scarcity mentality. We don't be posting more because we fear that if we make that one post this week, what we gonna have next week, though?
Right.
Like, that's a crazy beat. If I post it this week, then I gotta have more of this.
Mm-hmm. I gotta follow it up.
That's work.
Mm-hmm.
But then what if somebody hears this? Then it's not a surprise if I rap on an album. Album might not come out for 3 fucking years. Ain't nobody remember that fucking beat from Instagram.
Right.
We be sweating it though.
Yeah.
Oh man, if I post on Instagram, I can't put it on the album. Yeah, the fuck you can.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's gonna remember that. If you're posting enough, you'll have fire shit like that every fucking week. I'm at that point. This year has made me completely lose my scarcity mentality as it relates to beats.
Yeah.
I don't care. If I got a hot beat, I'm sending it to somebody. I want to rap on it right then. I'm going to rap on it right then. I'm going to post it that week. I'm not sitting around waiting like, man, I got to have some dope shit for when shit is going really well. I need that. I'm going to save it. I ain't saving shit. Tomorrow ain't promised. Put that shit out. It ain't that deep. Man, there's records I got, and this is embarrassing to say. There's records I got in my first record crate. Back then, I was just with some nasty samples on them. And at that time, I was like, yo, I can't put this out yet because, I got to wait for Greenhouse to blow up.
Yeah.
We got to save this joint for like when we really get a good look. When we get a real good look, then I'm going to go to this stash of samples right here.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I missed the window on all those fucking samples.
Yep, still sitting in that crate.
Still sitting, ain't touched the one of them. They don't even sound fire no more like they would have sounded if I'd have dropped them in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what I do then, like, what the fuck was I thinking? You just be thinking you can just drop it in. It doesn't work like that, man. Yeah. There's culture. There's like culture moves, times change, and like you need to take advantage of whatever window you have or you can create. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we don't have the window or the looks because we holding back.
Yeah.
I'm holding back. Guilty. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like I gotta have these conversations in public because I'm publicly talking myself out of doing this shit in the future as well. Like yeah, I do that shit sometimes. I ain't proud of it. It's real though, right?
I got a couple joints in the stash now that I've probably been holding on for like 2 years.
And then what happens at the end of that 2 years?
Right.
I promise you, they don't sound as fresh as they would have done.
They don't sound as fresh as they would have, when yeah.
Then you got to start all over again.
Yeah. Even joints like beats that I had, like, yo, when I do my next record, I'm going to write to that. And you know what I'm saying? Instead of writing to it right then and there, even though it was inspiring me at the time, yes. I ain't working on this right now. Let me put that to the side. I can, and now it's like, it don't even hit you like it did when you first made it. You know what I'm saying? You don't even get the spark to write like it did with, Yeah,
it's true. Because, when you sit around, you forget that, like, for guys like us who rhyme and make beats, we need to write to that shit quick because even if we don't like the beat 2 years later, the rhyme is what's most important.
Yep.
We could put that rhyme to anything. We could remix that fucking beat.
Yeah.
But not having the songs makes us feel like we ain't doing shit. So it's like, nah, keep recording the fucking songs and fine-tuning them and fine-tuning the beats and remix them until you got it. But yeah, that shit really hurts us, man. So we'll take a break and we'll be back with the last section of this joint, which is basically about like how to apply this. We got some steps for y'all, bullet points and such. And we'll take a break and we'll be right back. This is your weekly reminder that we have 2 books that you, as a listener, or watcher of this podcast need to absolutely own. The first is The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop Artists, and the second is The Social Media Cheat Code. Both of these books were released within the last year. The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop Artists is a book where I go through the stories and explain the traits that are behind the success of some of the biggest names in hip hop today. The book has got nothing but amazing feedback. And if you are an artist, business person, whatever you do, if you would like to be inspired and would like to learn more about hip hop along the way and also see some reinforcement of the concepts that we talk about on this podcast, The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop is for you. Second book is The Social Media Cheat Code. That is for everyone who listens to this podcast who does not consider themselves an expert or really good at social media. It's not for super experienced people. It's actually for people who are on social media but are not getting the results you need. So what we did is I broke down like 12 or 13 strategies that I use all the time that actually work really well for me. I put it into book. I gave you examples and I tell you how to implement it. That's a book you absolutely need as a listener to this podcast, watcher of this podcast. If you're on YouTube, supporting these books actually goes a long way towards supporting the podcast. So to support the show, if you like what we do, obviously we don't necessarily get paid to do this shit. So support the products and services that we create. And these two books are a big part of that. We appreciate your support, and back to the show. All right, folks, we back. Super Duty Tough Work, the most infamous podcast, Blueprint and Logic. This week we're talking about changing public perception, how to change what people think about you and create more opportunities. And so in the last section, we talked about our own personal experiences with this concept. In this section, as we go out, we're going to give y'all some bullet points about how to actually do this, how to do it for yourself and change the public perception. So step number one is to choose something that you are good at, but not perceived as that thing. So let's say you are a visual artist. You want to get more graphic design work, but your Instagram page is mostly just you and your family and your cats and random shit. Who knows? The easiest way to change what people think about you is to deliberately post content of you creating art, of you drawing, of you sharing your drawings. Are you sharing drawings of things that are relevant in culture? Maybe something happens or some movie comes out and you want to do a sketch of one of the actors in it or one of the characters in it or something. Simple things you can do, but what it does is it eventually changes what people think about you instead of the guy that just posts about his life to the guy who also is a talented artist. And then you have to keep doing it though, because if you don't, you'll never change the perception. But that's the first thing is to choose something that you're good at. And then the second part of that is to set a clear goal for what you want to be perceived as. And that's important because sometimes this vague shit don't work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the abstract, I just want to win.
Yeah.
I just want to be successful. I just want to be the man. I want to get the love that they get. That shit sounds cool, but that's not specific enough. So you need to have a clear goal. Like my clear goal in 2024 was to get booked to play beat sets like I get booked to rap. I want to be booked as an opener. I want to be booked to play my own beat set. And how do I do that? Right? But it starts with a specific goal, a logic goal. I want people to know that I make beats too. I need people to know that. Okay. Then eventually, I should probably produce an album for myself.
Right. Yep.
How better can I show that? I should probably, put out some beat tapes. I should probably share some stuff, live streaming, make a beat on YouTube Live or whatever. I should probably, go participate in these beat nights. There's opportunity to have my own beat night. I should probably just do that too because I love this shit and I'm gonna be around it. And this is what I want people to see me as because that's what I do anyway. Right? everything you've done started with the main goal of you wanting people to know that you did beats in a serious capacity. You don't go down all them paths unless that's your starting point. I don't play a beat. If motherfuckers would ask me to play a beat, no one even would have thought to ask me to play a beat set in Chiang Mai, Thailand, had I not been doing it on YouTube.
Right.
Oh, here's Print playing 15 minutes. Oh shit, if he can play 15 minutes, I wonder if he can play fucking 45. Probably. Well, there's 3 videos, they're 15 minutes and everything's fucking different. Yeah, that's a 45-minute set right there. You see it, you're changing the perception. Yourself, though. And so it starts with the goal. That's step number 1. Step number 2 of how to apply this is to study other people. So no matter what field you're in, we're musicians and artists, so we're talking in terms of that. But obviously, Logic brought up the videography thing. We dabble in the cameras as well. Whatever we do, we try to study people who are already successful at it, right? There are people who are doing exactly what you want to do and be perceived as. What are they doing that you're not doing, right? Like a lot of beat makers, the beat makers I see who are most unhappy, they share the least. The beat makers who share the most tend to be the most successful. Like I think we've talked about it before, just like the Stolen Drums as an example of, he literally live streams. He's been doing it for like 5-6 years now. Just, he don't care if it's 200 people watching or 2,000. He goes be streaming. You know what that man does. There's no doubt. He makes beats, y'all. He shares beats. He's a producer. He ain't no podcaster. He ain't no internet celebrity. He ain't no, you know what I mean? He's not a writer. You know what the fuck he does because he does it all the fucking time. But you can learn from studying him. How often is he sharing? What kind of content is he sharing? What's the format that he shares? Bro, when I started making sharing beats on Instagram, I didn't try to reinvent the wheel. The temptation is to do it your way because we're artists.
I need to do something new.
Yeah,
I need to do something new and innovative.
How come no one shot from this angle before? Fuck that. I steal everybody's camera angles. I look at the Discover page. I'll be like, where's that camera at in that room? Oh, he got it right there. That's where I'm going to put my fucking camera.
Yeah.
What is he showing in the camera? Oh, it only goes up to his waist. That's what I'm fucking doing. Why? Because he posts videos every fucking day and he gets hella fucking views. I don't care about what he posts. I care about how he's doing it. He's winning. Copy it. You know what I mean? And then step number 3 is to create content of you doing the same thing at a high level. At a high level. Meaning, look at the investment that they're making. Can you get close to that? What kind of camera you got? For some things, you may be able to use your phone. For others, you may have to get a slightly better camera or a different way of delivering it. It just depends on what you're trying to do, what your field is. For us, we've been talking about performing and beats and, capturing audio. So that's the scope of it for there. But this applies to any business, any fucking endeavor. Try to do it at the professional level or at the level of the people you see doing it at the highest level, right? Because that's who you're honestly competing with for attention. You may think, oh, I'm not competing with them. You are. You want to be seen as that thing, right? You can't say I want to be seen as a professional, but fail to present yourself as a professional does. So that's what we want. We want to execute at their level or as close as we can get to it. That's the bar, right? Number 4, be consistent. Just because you can make one video you doing it one time don't mean shit. You need consistency in everything. Audio, visual, presentation, how you're talking, how it looks, feels, and comes across to the person who's watching it and taking it in. Because that's the person whose perception needs to change. You know what you believe you are. Problem is there's a disconnect between what you believe you are and what other people see you as. So be consistent. because it's not going to happen overnight. You may have to do something for a year, 2 years, 3 years. I literally watched LaRussel post videos of him playing live for 2 years straight before he had a show outside of his house because no one could play. Watch his following just grow and grow and grow and grow. He didn't take his foot off the gas. I bet if you went to space, he probably got 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 posts. Every day, though, he gave it to you. Every fucking day. Be consistent, and the results will come.
I think that's the hardest one.
Being consistent?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. It is. There's a saying I like to tell myself. It's like that. You only lose the game if you quit playing. Mm-hmm. Like certain games reward you for staying in them longer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is one of them. You know what I mean? You got to be consistent for long periods of time. And artists forget that. And it's difficult. Like you said, it's not easy.
It's hard to be consistent. It's hard to, especially if you're trying to do something and you have to kind of do something similar every day. Every time you record, you gotta, okay, I got my 404, I got my, MIDI controller, whatever it is, and I'm playing beats. But it's getting response. You know what I mean? So it's like, damn, it's working. So I need to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to shoot another one of these videos. I got to do, you know what I mean? So as artists, we always want to do some new shit. We don't never want to stick to the shit that's working.
Exactly.
We always want to do some new shit. We always want to, jump outside the box. Sometimes you got to stay in the box for a little bit.
Yes. Stay in the box.
Yeah. Stay in the damn box because the box is working. If the box is working, stay in the damn box.
Come on, man. It's the simplest thing. Like, yo, just do what's working. But yeah, I've been guilty of it. We all are guilty of it. Oh, man, that's cool. But, man, why don't I give him some of this?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, man, why don't you just give him what works? It's still from you. It's not like you doing somebody else's material. Like, we act like doing our own shit well is a compromise. Like, right. You invented that.
If I got to do that song again, I guess.
Ugh. You wrote it. Sir. We be talking about our own songs like they cover songs. Like we got to do covers of somebody else's. Oh, shit, I got to perform Boombox again. Motherfucker, you wrote Boombox. It's your song.
And people like it.
People like it. Hello. They want to hear it. Why don't you play it? Like, artist is crazy, man. Okay. And then the last one is the last step in this is to create small opportunities for people to support you. Right. So like as much as you may be practicing this thing, doing this thing at a high level that you wanted to change the perception of you, you have to create opportunities every now and again to see what has happened. Have you changed any perception? Are people trying to fuck with you? Hey, for me, I'm doing beat sets. Hey, let me know if y'all want me to do some beat sets at your thing. You know what I mean? And then eventually like, well, hey man, you want to play a beat set out here? Yeah, man. Cool. You know what I mean? You'll have people who will reach out to you. Do it. Mm-hmm. I had to do the show in Dayton because it's like, yo, man, I gotta play. Number one, Tino's my bro. But number two is like, I need to play outside of my hometown and do this and see what the fuck it is.
Yeah. And let people know that I do this too.
Yeah. Can I hold them there? Will they watch the set? Or they just come because I'm rapping? Or they know what the fuck this is. You know what I'm saying? So you have to take those chances. Sometimes that chance may be, maybe your thing is, I need people to see me as a guy who makes records that are worth buying. If you want to prove that, you got to put out music that's really good, but you got to give people an opportunity to buy it. Mm-hmm. Make sure that like every now and again, you pop out and give people opportunity to support you. And that's how you can gauge whether that perception is changing or not. It ain't going to be overnight, but you have to do these steps. So that's it for this week, man. That's it. I hope y'all got something out of this, man. This is a cool episode.
Yeah.
And, if you need help with these things, the Super Duty Tough Work website is coming. I'm getting back to coaching right now. So artists, if you're out there, hit me at Super Duty Tough Work at weightless.net. You're interested in coaching, chopping it up, getting some help with what you do. And we got the books as usual, things like that. So we'll see y'all next week.
Yep. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Super Duty Tough Work. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Follow the podcast on SoundCloud. Peace.
Shoot, I got styles already that's more complex that nobody know about. I mean, Super Duty Tough Work.